Okay, there we go. I fixed it. We're live. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today, guys. I did a video log yesterday on Facebook, and I wanted to test out the YouTube Live. You can do it now from your phone, by the way. So for those bloggers or video loggers out there, you can now stream from your phone, which is pretty cool. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I got some questions and some messages from some of the people that watched the video, and I was deeply moved. I actually was kind of blown away by the amount of people that were, hey, Healing Enterprise, how's it going? I was blown away by the amount of people that were commenting on suffering from depression, suicidal thoughts, feeling trapped, wanting more answers, more solutions. I guess whatever I was talking about yesterday really inspired some thought in people, and I'm glad that it did. This is what I'm hoping to do, is to inspire you on your journey to think deeply about yourself, about life and where you are, and solutions about what we can do. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about depression. I'm going to share what I have to share, because I've been there, guys. I've been down that road. It's been a long time. This was something that I suffered with tremendously through my younger life, leading into my teens, and it was absolute and total hell. Going down the path of contemplating suicide, going down the path of dealing with incredible depression, being taken to one expert after another by my family because they didn't know what to do, and just that feeling of being lost, feeling like you're out of place, feeling like you can't accept yourself, lacking confidence, all of these things. We all go through this on certain levels, but some people suffer this to incredible extreme levels, and my heart goes out to you guys, and I've heard your comments, and I thank you for being honest. I thank you for contacting me and seeing me as somebody that you can ask these questions to. I'm honored. I mean, I'm not an expert. I want to say that right off the bat. I'm not here as a professional, an expert, an authority on any of this, but I'm a human being, and I've had my experience, and I want to share the information that I have to share, and I really want you to make this your own journey, and I want to help in any way that I can. So thank you for those comments. I'm not going to read them out loud, but I am going to address certain things that were brought up in some of these messages and comments. And I also wanted to quickly share some, just for those that are kind of keyed into this, some of the statistics, the official statistics about what's going on with depression. And then I'm going to share a little bit about my story and get into some stuff for you here. So basically, the World Health Organization published a report recently this year showing the rates of depression had increased in North America 18% between 2005 and 2015, and it's now estimated to affect over 300 million people worldwide. Approximately 800,000 people commit suicide each year relating to these statistics, and according to this study, it's saying poverty and unemployment are the leading causes. There's a lot more to it, and these big organizations do these studies under very, very strict guidelines, and I think there's some issues with that. I think even these numbers are relatively low. Sadly enough, I wish they weren't, but there's many takes on this, and they're also saying in these studies how short on these services, or how critically deficient many of the services in addressing mental health are in United States, Canada, North America, etc. And well, they're even saying globally, that this is an epidemic. And there's a lot of situations that are arising in my own personal life where I'm interacting with young teens, and I'm hearing them tell me about friends that they have that are contemplating suicide, that are in a state of depression, that maybe they are being raised by one parent, maybe I don't know what their life circumstances are exactly. Definitely has a huge role to play in what's going on. It's not just all about socioeconomic status. I've also mentored people who are tremendously wealthy, and they're suffering from the same kind of things. So this is why I'm here, to try to inspire a deep look at the self, a deep look into your mind, to study philosophy, to study the great thinkers of the world, to study great poetry, to study great literature, to study the art of movement, connecting to your somatic intelligence, activating the body intelligence, also health, guys. Like, let's not forget that as we're watching the numbers rise dramatically in the West when it comes to mental illness, we're also watching simultaneously a health crisis that is unprecedented. The amount of the uptick in diabetes and cancers and just the everyday person getting sick with all kinds of flus and colds and the rise of obesity and so many of these factors that are related to our environment. They're related to the kind of foods we're eating, the kind of water we're drinking or the lack thereof, the kind of information we have in our heads that are contributing to our state of overall mental function and cognitive function abilities that are, I think, in many ways perpetuating physical health problems as well. So the mental health crisis and the physical health crisis, there's a direct correlation there. And I think a lot of people maybe don't think about that. They don't think about the necessity of nutritional health, cellular health, when it comes to promoting mental health. That's the first place to start looking. But then there's this concept of self-image. I've been talking so much in my video logs on this channel about yeah, Jordan, good comment. I'll get to that in a sec, bro. There's so many things I've already commented on in my previous video logs when it comes to the concept of healthy self-esteem. First understanding what is the self versus what is, just the ego or just this construction that's created by the things in the world, the environment around you. But what is your true authentic self? And then how do you raise your self-esteem, the view of yourself? This is all related to the way you're going to view the world, the way you're going to view and the way you're going to view your path in life and whether you have one or not. And I think it's very relevant to this concept of depression, because I think there's a deficiency not only in the food we're eating and the environment and all of that that's leading to all these health problems, but there's a deficiency in the information that we're given right from being young children. There's a deficiency in the parenting community, although I am excited to see so many parental groups and a raising of consciousness in that arena where parents are getting together and really discussing honestly about how to properly raise children. There's so many great works out there that I could refer you to on that. But it does start at your youngest years, and many of the traumas that you've experienced throughout your life, they can still haunt you if you don't know how to address them and see them. And that was the path that I had to go on, of sort of becoming aware of it, being honest with it, learning how to face it, developing the courage to face it, and then actually dealing with it and processing it. And that's a journey that is very difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. But drowning yourself in medication, drowning yourself in avoidance tendencies, distracting yourself is just going to lead you away from the true source of what it is that's ailing you. And this is what I want to get into a little bit more. So Jenny's saying vitamin D. Yeah, I mean, vitamin D. I live in Canada, and we have, tremendous amounts of time during the year where there's not a lot of sunlight. So you don't get exposure to vitamin D, and the sun is the number one place you can get vitamin D. So here in Canada, I'm always telling people, you should at least supplement vitamin D or get it as much as you can in your food and really make sure you're not deficient in that area. But I mean, all the vitamins, everything in balance, right? We need to be having a holistic approach to our health and a holistic approach to our mental health. But that aside, let's look at some of the things that I think contribute to this in the greatest way. And I'm just going to pull up the comments here that I was looking at, because they're very, they touch my heart. I feel for these people, and I wish I could help everybody individually, but I'm just going to do my best in these videos to try to contribute what I have to share with you on it. And the one thing that kept coming up was this hatred of the self, or this inability to accept maybe your image of yourself. A lot of people are talking about how they're like, I've never been able to accept my body. I've never been able to form a relationship with my body. I don't like what I see in the mirror. I don't have the right kind of facial structures. I don't have the right kind of, I don't like my hair. There's all these things that keep coming up in the way that people are actually just viewing their physical body, the body that they have to navigate this reality. And I can definitely sympathize with that and recognize that that's a huge thing. When it comes to contributing to depression, is your connection with yourself. If you don't have a self-identity and a strong self-identity and a strong knowledge of what your value is, okay, and that we need to get past this feeling like I'm only going to be able to accept myself, even on a physical level, based on the way other people respond to me. You're going to create a divorce from yourself, because you're not living in accordance with who you really are, and connecting to the talents and the attributes and the values that you do have to offer. You're living a life that has been constructed by all the feedback you're getting from the people around you. Okay? And there's something here that I want to bring up, and I think it's something you can keep in the back of your head when it comes to learning how to accept yourself. I mean, just learning to get to that point where you accept who you are, you accept your flaws, you accept I call them perfect imperfections. All these things that we perceive as imperfections, remember that we're perceiving that mostly through the collective mind, and that we've been raised to assume is the ultimate arbiter of truth in our lives. And that's the feedback that we get is, oh, well, I don't look like that person in that magazine, or who's been airbrushed to death and who has like millions of dollars to hire personal trainers, and who maybe just genetically has a different face structure or a different body structure. I don't look like that, so therefore I can't accept myself. Well, that's just ridiculous. Some of the most brilliant people in history that have contributed amazing things to humanity, they weren't supermodels. They weren't people that were just there for aesthetic reasons only. Some of them were the ugliest mofos around in terms of what we consider beautiful or ugly or whatever. And who are we to say? We're a process of this universe unfolding, and there's many expressions of that. And you've got to get in touch with the attributes that you do appreciate about yourself. But the thing is if we haven't been raised with that, if the parents haven't done a good job in this regard to raise you with a strong sense of who you are, to raise you with a strong connection to your self-esteem and your self-worth, if that hasn't been established at a young age, that is a very difficult road to climb later in life. And I see a lot of people suffering with that. And guys, I suffered with that. Even with all the opportunity that I had and the great people I had around me and the positive attributes that I had, I still I hated myself. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be depressed to the point where you don't even want to get up off the floor, let alone your bed. I didn't even want to get off the floor. I wanted to stay in the fetal position and just disappear. And I know what that feeling is like. And I know what it feels like. I remember it distinctly like it was yesterday. I'm almost getting emotional talking about it. Man, I remember what it felt like to feel like there was no point to living anymore. And it's just, when I think back now and I think of where I'm at this stage in my life, I know it's because there was a deficiency there for whatever reason. I'm not going to blame any external circumstances in my life. I'm just going to look at it as there was a deficiency there in my mind, in my life experience, in the way I perceive things that led me to that belief system. It's a belief system, like any belief system. And all belief systems need to be scrutinized and looked at objectively. And if you can't look at the way you look at your own body, the way you look at whether you have value or not to contribute, if you can't look at that objectively, then you're always going to be trapped in that. You're going to feel like you're swimming in molasses, like you can't escape. And then when somebody comes and gives you negative feedback, or the environment around you and the media around you and the fact that, there's this ideal put up of what you need to look like, the way you need to act, the way you need to dress, the way you need to think, the kind of food you need to eat, the kind of food you shouldn't be eating. There's all this conflicting information flying back and forth. If you have no inner compass, if you have no inner connection to who you are and why you're here, like what I was trying to bring up in that last video, then you're going to be lost. And I remember that. I know what that feels like. And I want to try to contribute something for you here. So let's talk about the odds of what it takes just to be here in a body on this planet living a life. Okay? The odds. I spoke about this briefly in another video, and somebody had sent me a question, can you get me the study on this or whatever? And guys, I don't know if this study, I didn't look into all the inner details of this study, but I feel like it sounds about right. And it's a great lesson to just kind of see that your life is a miracle. The fact that you are alive and breathing and listening to this video right now, and that you made it here, is a miracle. Okay, there was a video that my wife and I watched when she was pregnant, and I got to find the link to this video. It's so amazing, and they did like a 3D rendition of the process of like the sperm finding the egg, and how many sperm have to fight for that position in order to make it into that into synthesis there, and then the process of life from that point on, and then how the fetus grows, and the connection with the mother, and then the birth process, and then the process of life and death. It's just a really beautiful video, and it really puts some things into perspective for me. And watching that process happen with my two girls, watching, from beginning to birth, being there for the birth and seeing that whole process, and then now watching them grow, and now they're like talking back to me and having conversations with me, and they have their own personalities, they have their own uniqueness, they have their own ideas, they have their own sense of humor that is completely different. Did that stop? Oh, hold on a second. Let me do, whoa. Are we back? Okay, we're back. I hope it didn't do a different video. Okay, hold on a second here. So, the fact that this is something that I wouldn't have been able to obviously know about until I watched it happen. It really put things into perspective, and I think it relates to understanding your value, that you do have value. And for you to show up here, the odds are totally against you, okay? It's like there's probably a big lineup of souls or whatever they're trying to get in, and you made it here. So just the fact that you made it here, even if you don't like the body you showed up in, or you've got you got some crazy life experiences that have put you off, and that have really started pushing you towards thinking more negatively about yourself, and then spiraling into depression and so on. You need to start establishing some self-worth. And so I'm going to try to contribute something here. I'll have an article that I'm going to be linking to, and it was done by Dr. Ali Benazir. And there was originally a TED Talk done by Mel Robbins where she was just talking kind of topically about this, that, if you calculate the likelihood of being born, it's calculated that the odds are about 1 in 400 trillion. 400 trillion. So this doctor, he goes in and he's just looking at all the different circumstances that would have to happen, for your parents to meet, and all the people that have to come together. And then you look back at like history and the lines of your family and your ancestry, and then then getting into the genetics and what it takes for the sperm to reach the egg, and he goes on and on about all the factors that they brought in. Whether the eggs were healthy enough even to hatch the sperm and do all that. I don't know if I'm using the right terms here, but it just, all of that, there's tremendous odds against it, okay? And the fact that it happens is, you could look at it like a miracle just from that place on. And he goes, my conclusion to this study was that the odds that you exist it could basically be looked at as zero. Like it's so big. He goes, it's the probability of 2 million people getting together each to play a game of dice with a trillion-sided dice. They each roll the dice, and they all come up with the exact same number. For example, a number was as large as 550,343,279,001% chance that you will even be a living, breathing person that made it here to have this life experience on this planet in this time. And then they relate to, how, Buddhists and many other ancient cultures, Hindus, etc., have talked about, the precariousness of this incarnation. And he's like, they say, imagine there was one life preserver thrown somewhere in the ocean, and there's exactly one turtle in all of these oceans swimming underwater somewhere. The probability that you came about and exist today is the same as that turtle sticking its head out of the water in the middle of that life preserver on one try. And there's many other things that they go into. But let's just look at it like this. Regardless of the numbers, and everybody's going to go, oh no, it's this number, it's that number, or that. Forget it. Just look at it as a concept that we all know that for you to be here, there are many things that have to happen. There are many factors that have to come into play for you to have a body to incarnate or to express spirit in this life. And when you start from there, that's the first place you can begin to realize that you absolutely do have a purpose. And if you feel you don't have a purpose, you have the ability to create purpose. That's one of the gifts that we have, is that we have the ability to create purpose. And we can choose what purpose we want to express ourselves through and what we want to be a part of. We can choose that. And unfortunately, there are things that we don't have control over on this journey of life. We're kind of thrown into a giant ocean. And there's a lot of unpredictable things that can happen. Maybe, it depends on the kind of parents that raise you. Were they there for you? Were they there implementing a positive, were they there as good role models for you is what I'm trying to say. Were they there really being attentive to your needs? Did you have both parents present? That's also a huge factor. Were you raised by a single mom, a single dad, etc.? What kind of environment were you raised in? What kind of influences were around you? What kind of family was around you? What kind of friends did you hang out with? What kind of television were you watching? What kind of food were you eating? What kind of air were you breathing? What kind of exposure to nature did you have? What kind of school did you go to? What kind of teacher did you have in that school? What kind of experiences in school did you have? Were you bullied a lot? Were you popular in school? On and on. And there are obviously some economic factors as well that can play into some of these things. But I just feel like we're limiting ourselves if we start going, oh, well, it's because I was raised in the ghetto, or because I was raised in this country and not this country, and it's because I had these parents and not those parents. And we start, these are factors, but look at it like that's the dice that was rolled. Those are the challenges that you as a soul incarnated into this life to deal with and to overcome and to actually use as fire to your passion, fire to your drive. I'm doing what I do, and I'm interested in the things I'm interested in because of the challenges I faced growing up. Because the fact that I suffered from deep depression and self-hatred and all these things. I have been able to create a stronger personality, a stronger mindset, a stronger approach to understanding the value of studying things like philosophy and deep thinking and spirituality. And now here I am doing videos like this. I mean, it wasn't something that just happened overnight. Oh, I just kind of naturally had the attributes that I have. I had to develop them. And it was through that fire, through that resistance, through that opposition that I experienced in my own life, the experiences that I had, that many people would maybe look at and go, oh, I would definitely rather not experience that. That's some hard shit. And everybody's got their own, okay? But we can look at those things and we can say, those are the things that defined me, and it defined me into this person that hates themselves and can't find my direction in life. And so now I'm just a victim to that. And we start living life like a victim. And we've talked about this in other videos about living life as a victor instead of being a victim. Because society now has become an expression of the fact that there's the majority of people that make up the society are living in this deficient state of mind, a dim kind of consciousness. And there are many factors that have contributed to that becoming the majority in our society. Why isn't the majority of people in our society healthy, vibrant, free-thinking, deeply philosophical, insightful, passionate, talented, strong, courageous, expressing all the best virtues of human beings? How come we don't have the majority of that? And we can see there are many factors. There's been elements in our society, in our human species since the advent of human beings. There are obviously also people that are out there actively trying to influence the flow of history and influence society so that it works out for political means or other. Oh, we was interrupted again here. I think we're back, going live. There we go. Okay, so there's all kinds of factors at play, and we have to take a different perspective on those circumstances that we'd rather not think about. Those things that happen to us growing up, or those things that are happening to you right now. Those emotions that are happening inside of you that are pushing you towards this feeling of wanting to give up. And to me, that's what suicide is. It's giving up. It's saying, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I have no value for myself. I have no value for life. And I value myself so little that I'm actually willing to end my life. This life that has a 500 and whatever trillion chance of not happening. I'm willing to throw that away. When you can change that perspective, and I know it's hard, and I know there's nothing I can say that will just change this for you overnight. And there's no quick fix, and there's no pill. And that's what we instinctively want. We just want instant pain relief. We want to go find some painkiller that's just going to take the pain away. And so we go into drugs, and we go into escapisms, and we go into bad relationships, and we go into distracting ourselves from all the pain, when it's in the pain that the greatest lessons are to be learned. And that's the hardest thing about learning about this journey that I can say that I experienced directly in going on this path of trying to recover myself, build myself back up again, and then achieve my life purpose, was that I had to face that pain. I had to form a relationship with that pain. I had to become, it's, you can't just run away from it and hide from it. And I realized there are many factors that make up this thing we call a human being. You have a mental life, you have a physical life, and you have a spiritual life. You are three spheres coming together as one. You are the Holy Trinity. That's what that metaphor is. The mind, the body, spirit coming together as one to actualize the cosmos in basically the macro in the micro. You are the microcosmic expression of the macrocosmic. It's a fractal holographic system. That's just what I think. There are many scientists that are on board with this concept as well. And this is definitely what the great spiritual and philosophical traditions discuss as well. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. When you recognize that no matter what body you live in, no matter what experience you may have actually had in this life, that you are the microcosmic expression of the universe, living and unfolding your existence, and that you do have free will over the choices that you make in life. You have free will over whether or not you're going to turn your consciousness brighter, and you're going to work at refining that and refining this concept of who you are and why you're here, and learning about life and learning about nature and learning about the good, the bad, and the ugly, about the world, learning about history, learning about the health of your body and how important that is, learning about all of these beautiful, beautiful things that we can learn about in this life and then take from and apply to our life. That you realize that everything you're doing, even the dark things, even the things that maybe you regret, even the things you wouldn't have liked to experience, are all part of this big matrix of reality that has produced you. And you now have a choice to make. And the choice you have to make is either you're going to allow that to beat you down and shape you into somebody you'd rather not be, and shape you into somebody that you don't like what you see in the mirror, and get to that point where you're actually ready to pull the plug, and get to that point where you're ready to quit and give up. Or it can shape you into something great. It can refine you like a diamond is refined. It can refine you like this katana sword is refined. It can refine you in a way that you can't even imagine. You can access potential inside of you that you can't even imagine, because what is that potential that we're talking about? What's that potential that guys like Bruce Lee are talking about? What's that potential that, some of the greatest philosophers like Plato and Aristotle and everybody was trying to talk about, and even the great sages, and even in a lot of the great stuff in various religious teachings from around the world, and even in science? What are they trying? There's good and bad everywhere, but what is this discussion all about? It's about learning about the connection that you have to nature, to the universe, to other people, and also to yourself, and then actualizing that and doing something good with it. Because there's one thing that has stuck in my mind the most, doing all this exploration and research and just thinking about these things, and that is that when you're talking about meaning, and usually that's what drives you into depression and anxiety, is that you feel like you have no meaning, you feel like you have no purpose, you feel like you're afraid all the time, you're always in fight or flight mode, you have this angst that's just always at the surface and you can't address it, and so you're running away from it, and it's producing these negative mindsets that are bringing you down and dimming your consciousness. We tend to think of it as like the world owes us something. The world owes us something. Other people owe us something. And sure, maybe there are things that people have done to you they shouldn't have done to you, and maybe, they owe you an apology. But you can't control the actions of that person. You can't control what's going on in the world around you, but you can control this world. to a large extent. There's a lot of things that you can do, and you can realize that the world isn't going to give you meaning. You bring a meaning from within yourself. That's the difference. And you can only do that when you're outside of that mind that's allowing you to believe this concept of yourself that has completely been generated by the other people around you, the influences around you, the culture around you, whatever, that has shaped you. And there are positive influences that can shape you in a positive direction, that actually show you the door to your own knowledge and to that potential we're talking about, and that offer you the wisdom that's going to help you learn how to love yourself and really go out there and do something great in this life and get the most out of life. But ultimately, it's always that choice that you have to integrate it and to express it and to make it something that's yours from within. So you're not going to find truth out there in the world. You're not going to find meaning out there in the world. It's a reflection of this inner world. So that's why all the great traditions, in my opinion, are all focused on developing that internal world, right? The kingdom of heaven is where? Everybody's waiting for the kingdom of heaven to like drop down out of the sky and just magically appear, this great utopia. Oh, we'll come up with the perfect political system. We'll come up with a different economic system. We'll come up with a better way to do everything, technological advances. The kingdom of heaven is within. That's it. And that's been spoken about across all periods of time by the greatest minds. It's within. It's neither here nor there. It's not out there. It's in there. It's inside. So the way out is not to just pull the plug, guys. The way out is in. And you have the manual, you have it all imprinted inside of you, but there is that process where you now have to use this world, this life experience, as a way of gaining new knowledge and experience. And even the negative experiences are part of that package. You can't just assume life is just going to be this easy ride with all these lovey-dovey experiences all the time. Clearly, it's not that. It's never been that, and I'm not waiting for it to be that. And honestly, now with this perspective, I prefer that it not be. There's nothing wrong with getting down one day. You don't have to be this upbeat, happy, positive, smiley, shiny person all the time. You know? You can be down. That's why they have like the blues and like, soft jazz and like chill music, and like great artists have painted rather depressing paintings, or they've painted what they think fear looks like. And great writers, the best writings come from drama. They come from pain. They come from the suffering that someone had to go through to slay their own inner dragons, so that they could come to a higher realization, or not higher, but like a more holistic realization, a more complete realization. And then they could actualize that potential into the world. Those are the most beautiful things. Those are the movies that bring us to tears. Those are the songs that bring us to tears. Or even bring us to a state of anger, or bring us to a state of happiness, or whatever. Because great artists and great minds have created things that they didn't create them because they were on some surfboard somewhere just chilling out and everything's easy peasy, having the greatest life with millions of dollars. That's the shit you're hearing on the mainstream media coming from these celebrities that are probably, they hate themselves more than you can imagine, because they're living now in the public eye, and there's all kinds of crazy influences in Hollywood, and who the fuck knows what's going on over there. And now that music is just horrible recycled garbage that's just toxic on all levels and not inspirational at all. It all sounds the same. It's not coming from the heart. It's just all computerized, and and so it's not just a couple people that at the top, they're just rigging everything. I mean, there's influences for sure, but we're also now becoming a reflection of that and continuing this cycle of creating a society around us that is inauthentic. It's fake. It's not real. It's not centered around real values. And so then your parents grew up in those eras, and they did the best maybe they could with what they had. Or maybe they didn't give a shit. I don't know. But either way, it's been this... We've been... It's not just your fault. That's what I'm trying to say, is that there's been a lot of influences and changes on the bigger scene of how culture has gone into the depraved state that it is. That has been a huge influence on your parents and their parents, and then hence your life now in this age, no matter what age you are, and You know, if you're coming in now, you're instantly exposed to that. Oh, you've got to do this and do that and jump through these hoops and go get all these degrees, and it's got to be the way, you got to look good for everybody else, and you know, you've got all these demands on you all the time, to the point where you don't even own your own life anymore. You don't even own your own life. Your life is now, it's like you owe something to society. You owe something to everybody else. But you never knew that you have to start with you first. You've got to put your own oxygen mask on first before assisting others, right? Isn't what they tell you in the airplane? I think I've used that analogy too many times. No, but it's just a good one. Like, you have to do that. And you've got to take that time. And you got to take that care. And you got to say, look, I'm going to make this deal. I might not be able to switch all this in my mind right now, but I'm going to make this deal with myself. I am going to not quit. I'm going to refuse to quit. I'm going to start there. I don't have all the answers yet. I don't love myself yet. I still feel depressed. I still feel anxious. I still feel like I'm not happy. I'm in a job I don't like. I'm in a relationship I don't like. Whatever. All those things I was bringing up. But I at least now I know where I'm at. And I'm going to work from where I'm at. And I'm going to say I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to surrender. I'm going to cultivate the spirit of the warrior, which is what I've been trying to bring out to you guys since I started this little vlog ranting thing, whatever that I'm doing on YouTube. And it's so important. It's so important to recognize these things if you want to maintain your sanity and maintain your center. You know, recognizing basic principles like the law of balance in your life. Not diving into extreme reactions and just emotional based reactions, but like balancing out your logic, your reason, your intelligence with your intuitive emotional body. Not negating the anger that you feel, not negating and trying to suppress the pain that you feel, the suffering that you feel, the sadness that you feel. Don't suppress that. Don't depress it. Our society's trying to block you from that and say, no, just edit it out. Everything's happy. Smile. Just smile and be happy. Well, you can't just smile and be happy, can you? If you have to deal with all of these very legitimate emotional responses to the experiences you've had in your life and outside stimulus that is affecting your life now. So you have to embody all of it and realize this is a whole experience of ups and downs, of victories and defeats, of things you like about yourself and things you hate about yourself, of situations you'd rather be in and situations you'd rather not be in. And recognizing that there are things you can control and things you can't. I think what happens with a lot of people, and I'm saying this again, guys, because this was my experience, was that there's a twisted view of the things that you do have control over and the things you don't. And we typically get led to try to control obsessively the things that we can't and we don't have the right to or don't have the ability to control. And we avoid the responsibilities and the knowledge of the things that we can control and that we do have the ability to change and influence. So that's the choice that you have to make. There's nothing deterministic about that. You choose it. There are things you didn't choose. You just kind of showed up here. Hey, where am I? Oh, okay, I'm on this planet Earth, whatever. And who are these people that are feeding me? Oh, it's my parents. Okay, this is where I live. Oh, I live in, Yorkton, Saskatchewan, or I live in whatever country. Okay, and the world is still fighting and killing each other over stupid shit. Oh, okay, all right, interesting. There's been some brilliant people that have actually really thought about the meaning of life. I should maybe check that out. Okay, other people have come to this island we call Earth, and they've had some experience, and they've written some beautiful things down. And other people have come here and really added some toxic shit that maybe I should avoid. There's this process you're going to go through, and the way I like to look at it is like you're here as an explorer. You're here to explore this. All of it. Not just the good things that we all like, not just the ponies and rainbows, not just the songs and the dances and the parties and the good times. You're here to explore all of it. You're here to explore the wars and the poverties and the down times and the depressions and the sadness and the emotional swings and the good choices and the bad choices and the repercussions for your actions. And you're here to explore what's the right thing to do. What's the moral thing to do? You're here to experience mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Nobody told us this. Nobody told us this, that it's okay to make mistakes. We were told, don't make mistakes. Those are bad. You'll fail. And again, fear, fear, fear. Survival, survival, survival. But mistakes are healthy. You have to. It's the only way to learn. If you make a couple mistakes and go, oh, I made some mistakes, I suck, I'm not going to do that again, well, then you're never going to master that thing. Show me one person that has mastered any craft or discipline or art form that is able to say, yeah, I did this perfect every single time, just rolled in there and just laid it out on that bass. No issues, no restrictions, no inhibitions, no mistakes at all. I just showed up and did it. No, it's just, and would you want that? Would you want it? What would the life be if you, what would your experience being able to play a bass guitar be if you weren't up there with the confidence that, man, I've made every mistake in the book. I've failed in every way imaginable and then some. And now here I am, a badass bass player playing in front of y'all. That's magic. That's where the magic comes from those brilliant, brilliant artists that are the best at what they do. They probably made the most mistakes. They probably had the most failures. They probably had to learn how to play the bass guitar from some basement somewhere because they didn't have any money to really go to some fine teachers in that craft. And yet it produces, in many cases, some of the most brilliant people you'll ever meet. So just read these success stories. I get to do this all the time. I get to watch it happen in my business. I've made my business part of my vocation, where I get to watch people go from zero to hero. And it's a beautiful thing to see that, and it just reinforces this every time when I watch it happen in physical reality. It's not just some philosophical mumbo jumbo that we can all sit there and look for scientific statistics on. Regardless of whether this study of whether you're 500 trillion to 1 odds against you, regardless of true or false or whatever, you do know that there's truth to the fact that your body is a gift. Your life is a gift. You have a life to live. You are a reflection of nature. That's why when you're out in nature, you take time to think and contemplate. You feel good and you like that. You like that experience because you're connecting with your spirit in a way. Nature is spirit. Spirit is nature, right? So that's what helps. You read the great minds that were way more intelligent, that had a life that guided them towards putting that kind of information out there to inspire you. And that's why I can't talk enough to anybody out there that's having this issue about the work of guys like Nathaniel Branden and there's so many other people I can mention. Go to his website, get his books, read through it. Learn how to build and cultivate your concept of yourself and your self-esteem, your belief in yourself, your belief that you have a right to happiness, that you have a right to this life, that you have a right to, and that you have all the capabilities to do that regardless of your circumstances. But that here we go, it's a challenge. Yeah, it's not just, there's no magic pills. It's not overnight. It's more realistic than some of the stuff you get from the mainstream that's just trying to say, oh, just think happy thoughts. Well, easier said than done. And we often talk about morality and virtue and what's the right thing to do. Well, usually morality is relegated to the way we interact with other people. And I find it funny that we live in a world where we promote the positive sides of, oh, that person was such a good person. He's always out there helping other people. He's always out there doing good works. Well, hey, that's good and fine, but how does that person act morally towards themselves? This is a question you can't really get into now because it's controversial, because now you become this selfish person all of a sudden. But that's what it is. This path of selfhood is understanding that in order to act morally in the world to other people and to your family and your children and everything else that's happening around you, you must first be able to act morally towards yourself. You have to take care of your house. You got to take care of your body. You got to respect the fact that even if you don't like the way your body is, for whatever genetic reasons or whatever superficial reasons, that's the body, that's the vehicle you have to drive in this life. And you're with it, you're stuck with it until the end. So make the best of it and realize that you're not just that. You're not just your body. You're not just that. And you can change certain things about that. But the first thing you can do is start respecting it. And respecting the fact that there is a universe of cellular activity that you don't see with your eyes every day. That you're made up of roughly 100 trillion cells, and there's How many atoms and all that stuff that makes up those cells, and what is the process that makes up just one cell? And there's a little universe in each little cell that's happening. And you start looking at, it feels like epigenetics, get into like Bruce Lipton and these guys, it's the exploration of like, almost like it's an exploration of consciousness, really. How there's a relationship between your mental world and the cellular biological world. And it's an amazing study to get into to help you understand this. That your frame of mind can affect the way your body functions. And then, of course, what are you putting into your body? What kind of food are you eating? What kind of are you eating with respect for what you're eating? Are you eating with respect for your body and with the goal of achieving optimal health, so that you have more power, more energetic power in your to push to your brain, so that you can think more clearly and you can really tackle these issues? You're basically putting gas in your vehicle so that you have enough gas to get to the end of this trip here. You think of it like that. It's that important, So, in a way, you have to worship the body. You have to venerate it and recognize what it is, and recognize there's an intelligence there that is also very important to factor in. We're not just brains, right? And that's where the work of guys like Wilhelm Reich come in, where he's talking about the idea of body intelligence and somatic intelligence and awakening that. And he used that in therapy to help people with mental health problems. Interesting. Working on the body to help the mind, and then working on the mind to help the body, and recognizing that you're this trinity of mind, body, and spirit. And that it's a miracle that you're here. And with that miracle, you have a choice. You have a choice if you're going to do something great with it and find out what it is that you are passionate about, and find out what it is that is your work here, and find out what are your talents. I've had so many people walk into my martial arts school, kids especially. They walk in and, they're quiet. You can tell they've got no confidence. You can tell they're too scared to even look at somebody else in the eyes, let alone talk to them and be open about things. And you show them for just an instant that they're actually really, really good at that one move you were working on, or they're really good at that one sequence you've been doing. And you see that's all it took, was just a little bit, just a little light, just a little bit of knowledge that, oh my goodness, I came in here really doubting myself and I was scared of everybody. But I actually could do this. And I'm actually really good at this one thing. And then that is a domino. That just, okay, well, if I'm good at that, maybe I could be good at this. And it's not about being good at things, guys, but there's a place that you need to start. You start at white belt. You start with a fresh slate. You clear the plate and you come in and you go, look, okay, I'm going to suck at this for a while, but I'm here to discover my talents so that I can go and discover my meaning in the world. And as long as you're patient with yourself and persistent, you'll probably find stuff about yourself you never knew before. It's a process of discovering things about yourself you never knew, because you were so obsessed about these things that were hang-ups, that were like, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't look like this, I don't act like this, that guy's better at that than I am, so therefore I am now less of a human being, or whatever. Look, there is something you're here that you're good at. There's something you're here to find out that you are good at. And you're probably good at it because you're going to love it. That's why you're going to be good at it. And if you can find what you love, you follow your bliss, like Joseph Campbell used to say. Follow your bliss. It's going to lead you. That's the orientation. That's that passion that's humanity. That's the spirit of the universe that's animating inside of you, saying, hey, come on, wake up. You're not here to just be a slave. You're not here to just be depressed all the time. You're not here to work jobs you hate. You're not here to just be that other face in the crowd, that faceless person. You're not here to just wait until you're dead. You're here to live. You're here to live. And you know how the evidence for that? You want the scientific peer-reviewed journals on that shit? You're breathing right now. You're alive. Your heart is beating. Your blood is pulsing through your body. Your cells are spinning. The sun is rising and setting every day, every night, every day, every night. And every time that sun rises, it's a new day to change at least one little thing. It could be just the way you think about something. It could be just activating something new inside of you. And you have another opportunity every day. And then every night, rest. Take the load off. Take the pressure away. Stop beating yourself up. Put some soft music on. Get some essential oils going. Do something like just create a nice environment for you to sleep in. Respect the fact that your body needs rest and that your mind needs rest, so that you can wake up the next day recharged. And the more you start taking care of your health and getting up in the morning and say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to start moving my body. I'm just going to start moving my body in the way that I know how. Maybe you like dancing. Maybe you like yoga. Maybe you like martial arts. Maybe you like just doing some stretches or just going for a walk up the road to the mailbox and back. Like, start moving. Once your body's moving, your mind starts moving. I feel like my best video logs have been when I'm walking. I don't even like sitting here right now. I like walking when I'm doing it. But the moving is key. And then, what am I going to be eating today? Am I just going to eat just because I want to fill that pit in my stomach? Or am I going to eat something that's going to help me on this journey today? You know? What are some things I can do to set up my week? How can I think in advance for my week? What kind of week do I want to have? And then recognize that you might plan that week and it might not go the way you want at all times. But you're okay with that because you're prepared for that. Like when I trained for a competition in martial arts, I would train every scenario possible. I would look at all the drills, and I remember being very addicted to, like, I want the game plan. I want the perfect game plan. I want to know exactly what I'm going to do against this guy. I want to study inside and out, because it's like there's this fear, like I don't want to go out there and look like an idiot, right? So I'm going to prepare for every possible scenario. And you know what's funny? Every time I prepared for every possible scenario, a scenario came up that I didn't even conceive of. Caught me off guard. So I learned how to become more adaptive and say, look, I'm just going to focus on being a better martial artist every single day. And when I go out there, I'm going to just go mushin, man. Just go no mind. Just go, here I am. Open, free, prepared. Prepared to lose. Prepared to be embarrassed. Realizing that it's not about what other people are going to think about this experience. That this opponent is in front of me to challenge me, to bring the best out of me and the worst out of me, so that I can have some time to reflect and come back and become a better martial artist. And that was the mindset that changed my game, and it changed the other ways that I looked at life. So the minute you're down about the fact that you don't like yourself, or you feel you're not good enough, just remember, you're 550,343,279,001% chance that you're even here breathing and worrying about that shit. Start from there. And then move forward and realize that you are a reflection of the whole, of this whole thing, of whatever this universe is. There's a spark of that in you. And you are important. You do have meaning. Your life does have value. And it's like that movie Network, where he's like, God damn it, my life has value. I am a human being. I'm not going to get pushed around by these negative, evil people that are trying to skip steps, trying to cheat their way, trying to step on other people to get to the quote-unquote top, of which there is no such thing. I'm not going to allow those people to influence my life. I'm going to be the author of my life. I'm not going to let those tyrannical parents be the ones that write my life. Or if I had good, loving parents, I'm going to take all that, but I'm going to make it mine. March to the beat of my drum, because my purpose is unique here. I'm not here to serve the purpose that all those other people are here to serve. I'm here to serve my purpose. That's the kind of mindset you need. And if you're out there and you are already switched on to this, you need to help. You need to help the young people right now. There is an epidemic of this, guys. It has to do with the environment they're being raised in, the toxic culture that they're exposed to and plugged into every single day, the fact that the education system is letting them down. Like, we'll go listen to our recent podcast 2 episodes ago on the education system. We had Mark Iwanaki on there, and we were talking about it, and man, so many good points brought up about how we can help influence young people. So that's a mission. Repair yourself, and then take that knowledge and start helping other people, because we need it. And you'll feel good about that. You'll feel good about seeing this played out again in front of your eyes, where you can look in that child's eyes and be like, hey, I made an impact. I don't know, I gave them a high five, made them feel good about themselves. Saw some kids talking down on them, saw some parents talking down on them, and I went and just gave him a smile and just looked at him with that eyes that said, yeah, don't believe that shit, man. Don't fall for that. You're better than that. You have all the potential in the world. Your life has value. You need to know that. And stop listening to this bullshit materialism that's telling you, oh, it's just all predetermined. You have no choices in life. There's no need for morality. It's just moral relativism. Just do as you will, survival of the fittest. Fuck that shit. There's something greater here. So I hope that helps. And thanks for listening, guys. I'm going to end this live chat for now. I have more I wanted to say, but I kind of got a little passionate there, and it's because this is a subject close to my heart. I'm going to do more on this. I even want to interview some experts and get some experts on and really talk about this in detail. We live in a great time where we can communicate these things and we can educate ourselves. So do this on your own. I'll put some links in the description when I can. And I'll be doing some more videos coming up soon. So thanks for your questions. I've heard you. Thanks for sharing your stories. Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your comments. And never, ever, 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 ever give up. Catch you later, guys. Cheers.